the primitive forms of artificial intelligence we already have proved very useful.
AI is a golden opportunity.
How do we ensure that this technology is regulated?
The long arc of technological history is now in an extraordinary new phase.
The AI6 podcast with Joanne Sweeney.
Thank you, Stephen, and good morning, Dublin. Michael O'Kane here, and I'm joined on the line with our resident AI and tech journalist, Joanne Sweeney. How are you doing this morning, Joanne?
Fantastic. Thanks for having me back, Michael.
A pleasure, as always, for our digital download here, covering all things AI and tech. And this week, Joanne, is no different. We're going to be talking about a report that just released, was it late last week or early this week, regarding AI and this potential impact it has on the job market here in Ireland. So I suppose, Joanne, to kick off, in kind of simple terms, what is this new research telling us about the impact of AI in Ireland?
Well, very often, Michael, we have to rely on international research when it comes to the impact of artificial intelligence on the labour market. So this one was really interesting that came out last week. So it's from the Economic and Social Research Institute and the Department of Finance. And ultimately, they are saying that in the short to medium term, 7% or 1 in 14 jobs could be displaced by AI. And so it's quite astounding, and it made me sit up and think. And what's interesting is in previous technological revolutions, those people most affected by the advent of technology have been kind of traditional workers working in, maybe agriculture or manufacturing that was quite labor intensive. But this study is saying that those in the firing line, essentially, for job displacement are white collar, highly paid, highly knowledgeable and highly educated workers.
It's very interesting stuff. As you said, there 7% of jobs in Ireland could be potentially misplaced. You mentioned there about some of the roles. Like, are there certain sectors that we're going to be seeing impacted by this research more than anything? Like you mentioned, obviously, like kind of more traditional stuff like construction probably won't be hit as hard, at least in the next coming years. But what kind of sectors are being hit most by this?
Well, I can put it really simply that if your job involves knowledge, information, and a computer, you are a threat. So they're describing jobs like ICT professionals, business and admin professionals, personal service workers, numerical and recording assistants, general keyboard assistants. So if you think about even my trade, like working in marketing communications, like I'm in the business of sharing and assimilating knowledge. And, a lot of my job is sitting at a computer and writing and analyzing and then regurgitating that out and sharing it with my clients. So definitely marketing, comms, accounting, legal, people involved in data analysis. So really consulting, coaching, business of all forms. Even if you think of public sector as well, there's a lot of people involved in administration tasks. And like Ireland is the European tech headquarters for many of the multinationals. And we've attracted those companies because of our highly skilled workforce. But if you think about what artificial intelligence can do, it has the capability to replace and even exceed what humans can do in these high-paid, white-collar roles.
Yeah, and it's really interesting, like as you said there, like maybe more traditionally when we've seen technological advances, like I can think, for one, just even in the 90s, 2000s, the introduction of computers on a mass scale would have had a massive impact on people's jobs. So it's interesting seeing, particularly with AI, it is those kind of higher incomes, kind of more higher level jobs that are being affected by this the most. Do you think, Joanne, that there are any challenges when it comes to the kind of the common perception of automation? And especially when it comes to, we'll say, lower income, more traditional jobs?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously when you automate anything, you have to make sure that automation from A to Z is actually almost perfect, or at least 80% there, because you don't want any missteps along the way. But then you will have humans who are required to oversee and manage what we call these agents and these agentic workflows. So the report authors are saying we absolutely need to upskill everyone in artificial intelligence so that their skills are fit for purpose in the AI age. But also there will be humans who will be managing AI systems and making sure that they're quality checking and sense checking the accuracy of everything. But I think not to just lean on the negative. And for somebody who I would say is directly affected, I've had to rethink what my value is in the AI age. So if I'm not doing as much writing and producing for my clients, so what else can I bring to them? And one of those pivots was right, learning AI for myself and now teaching it and maybe introducing AI systems into client companies. So there is work for all of us. And even the government are saying that any roles that are displaced, they should be retrained. And they will be retrained because the goal is to have 75% of Irish businesses using AI by 2030 and then 100% of Ireland's civil service using AI. So it's not just about job losses, it's about job augmentation and rethinking your value.
It's interesting, kind of, as you said there, like it's almost like what you're doing at the moment yourself, Joanne, is finding a gap in that market and seeing where there are potential jobs to train in AI, teach AI and all that kind of stuff when we are seeing things like this. I know you said not to dwell on the negative, but of course, that 7% figure for a lot of people sounds really scary. Is that indicating a complete job loss scenario, or is it kind of just reshaping how we live and how we work on a day-to-day basis?
I think we have to be honest and say that those 7%, 114 jobs will become redundant because of AI, because artificial intelligence can do it more efficiently, more productively, at scale. And so there's obviously a cost benefit to the bottom line of companies, and businesses exist to make money, so they cannot ignore it. And similarly, in the public service, we're talking about efficiencies so that more of that spare money can go on frontline services like health, education. So we are facing displacement of jobs and jobs just no longer being done by humans. And that's evolution. We've seen that in history. And we all know the saying, you are going to lose your job to AI, but you're going to lose your job also to the people who understand artificial intelligence. So you have to remain competitive in your own field by understanding these new ways of working. And I was at an AI conference at the University of Galway a couple of weeks ago, and one of my biggest takeaways was from a venture capitalist. And so this is a guy who invests in companies, and he said, there's no such thing as a subject matter expert anymore who cannot apply AI to their domain of expertise. And I thought that was a great statement to make us all sit up and listen. We have skills, we are experts, we've trained and worked for years, but we need to add AI into it to keep ourselves relevant.
Joanne, some of the other things that are mentioned in this report are kind of the things that we would expect. So like the potential increase in productivity, but also like exchequer funds and stuff like that. But one of the other things that was quite interesting from this was a potential increase in inequality. What does that exactly mean, and what does that take away from the report?
Yeah, it's kind of ironic, right? So you're saying that, those people who will definitely keep their jobs are those in the trades, those in healthcare, our teachers. But actually, those who are going to make the most money out of this AI revolution are the people that are deploying the systems. So if there are companies who are creating AI systems, selling them, deploying them, they're going to make money because the market needs them. The other thing to say is that if you are in a job where, AI is replacing you, then you're going to lose salary. These high income households maybe are going to be going down to one salaried income. So there's going to be this sort of kind of disparity until things regulate. And so one of the recommendations in the report is maybe to change our tax base and to relook at how and who we are taxing, because we maybe need to rethink, well, where is that money going? And if people can afford more to pay more tax, should we? So, it's a nervous time to talk about all of these things, obviously, with everything that's happening in the country with the cost of living. But certainly the Department of Finance being, co-authors of this report are saying, well, we got to have a tax system that is fair, that is equitable, and that tax people who can afford to pay for it. So these are suggestions at this stage, but definitely not firm recommendations. But I think it's a signal that we have to maybe rethink about how we maintain that balance of equality among all of our population.
So I'm just going to remind listeners, for anyone who is interested in looking at the report themselves, it is available online at the Economic and Social Research Institute. That's www.esri.ie. You can find the full report there. It is definitely worth a read. Joanne, one of the other highlights that was important, I thought that we should talk about coming out of the report, is the idea of retraining and lifelong learning. And kind of, I suppose you kind of touched on it there about, taking this new age of AI and kind of taking the time to learn, to adapt your AI skills and kind of learn AI. What do you think Ireland is already doing in this space? And are we already, we've talked about, Ireland is kind of hub for tech, especially in Europe. Where do you think Ireland stands on that?
Well, the government are being very proactive in this. They're now offering AI training, and there is free AI training available. If you check out your local enterprise office, your local education and training board, they know that in order for our economy to keep pace with the rest of the world, we have to remain competitive. We've always been really good at doing that with our highly skilled workforce. So they're being bullish around it. So I would say to people, have a look at your LEOs, your ETBs, and search for AI training because it is being offered for free. We've seen universities and private organizations like mine now stepping into the breach also. And one of the quotes from the report is that the question is whether we use the next few years wisely or we wake up in 2030 wondering why we didn't act when we had the chance. So this is our chance. We know the AI is here and, the government are there to support small businesses and even individuals. So take your chance. And the other thing to say, Michael, is that there will be new jobs and different jobs created because of AI, because we're living in a world where we will find cures to many of the illnesses that we haven't been able to in science. We will be finding solutions for our climate crisis that we've been struggling through. So there will be brand new jobs created that don't exist. And I would like to think that the balance will even out and we will still be a buoyant economy in the global space.
I think one of my favorite pieces about this kind of ongoing segment that we do together, all the time that we're doing this, I think you have such an optimistic view when it comes to AI, how like AI is going to be impacting us in the future of AI and humanity, I suppose. Also with this report, one of the suggestions in the report is that Ireland specifically is going to benefit hugely from the implementation of AI. So I suppose, Joanne, for you personally, what gives you that optimism? And seeing reports like this, are you optimistic about the future of Ireland and AI?
I absolutely am. We are a small island economy who always punched above their weight, and our people are hard workers, they're highly educated, and we're not afraid to adapt and be agile because just the nature of where we are on this floating island in the middle of the Atlantic, we have to be. And we're very ambitious, but also the rest of the world look to us and they respect us. And so I want people not to be afraid, but to share my optimism. And, I'm pragmatic too. When it's in bad hands, it can do bad things, but I'm on the side of AI for good. So don't be afraid of it. Start small, take one first step and take a course, take a free one and open your mind to the capability because you have lots of experience, lots of knowledge that you can bring to the AI age.
Joanne Sweeney of the Digital Training Institute, thank you so much as always for joining me and us here on Good Morning Dublin every Thursday for our digital download. If any of the listeners want to connect with you, Joanne, learn more about your podcast, your book, where they go to connect with you.
Hey, you can check out the podcast AI6 on your favorite podcast platform, or you can find me on LinkedIn or our website, digitaltraining.ie.
Fantastic. And one final thing, Joanne, as an overall message, I suppose, as we mentioned there, like a lot of people might see that 7% figure and get very anxious. What's your overall message to any workers who might be listening and are anxious about what AI means for their potential future?
Well, if you're already highly educated and highly skilled, you are smart enough to realize that a few smart side steps in your career will make sure that you're absolutely fine.
Thank you so much, Joanne.